world has a new leader. Africa.
They're starting to make ends meet.
Did you know some Africans have jobs?
They're going to take on Europe and win. Asia's mission is in good hands.
Hi, I'm a representative of Africa. We, as a continent and as a group of nations, we've always had money problems. But, you know what, we all knew that eventually that foreign aid was going to help. And I'm proud to say that I believe that day is today.
I'm offensive and I find this African.
Okay. Alright, let's do this. So, there's a reason for that absolutely ridiculous opening we had.
Very much so.
It's a new article actually we saw on, what was it, HuffingtonPost.ca. It's by a man named Ian Bremming, I believe. And he wrote an article called, essentially, it's about who will thrive in the New World Order, essentially. And anyway, it was interesting. Canada was one of the only first world countries on that list. Oh yes, the article's called "Every Nation for Itself." Is that it?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so
I'm not sure if that's what it's called. It was a general idea of the article.
yeah, you want to explain that?
Explain
Why it's called "Every Country for Itself."
Basically, what it's saying is that in an economic turmoil, or what we're coming up to now, which countries will do the best in it? Which countries will, because of where they are, how they're doing now, and economically, like in their government and all that stuff, which countries will do the best and come out of it in the best shape. Not only that, who will set the order for the new world that's coming up after the economic downfall. Turmoil.
Well, actually, after the recession is no longer a recession, it becomes like normal again.
Yeah. So who will be like the up and comers in that part of the world?
Because it's interesting. So I was saying that no individual alliance or nation will have the ability to push forward their ideas or agenda. So you'll essentially have everybody working together because they have to, not necessarily because they like each other. Anyways, I think so. Canada was one of the countries on the list. As I said, it was the only first world country on the list, but Brandon actually has all the countries on the list there.
Okay, and I have also a few reasons why Mr. What's his name?
Ian Bremming.
Mr. Bremming listed them. So number one was Brazil. Brazil recently surpassed Britain in becoming the 6th largest economic country. They have a middle class of about 100 million people.
Which is a majority of the population.
Which is over half of their population. Their total population is about 192 million. So it's pretty good for them. It's home to Latin America's largest consumer market, which goes without saying that would be good for their economy.
Yeah.
And recently in 2007, I believe, they found offshore oil, which means there will be a large energy exporter, which gives them lots of monetary gain for that as well.
Yeah. Oil makes everybody happier.
Exactly. Okay, next country we have is Turkey. Turkey, they have Turkey right now has double the per capita income of China.
So the per capita income is the average amount of money a household has to spend per year, essentially.
So basically they're doing better than China.
Double
better than China.
Double plus good.
So basically Turkey is also a trade state. It's a crossroad between Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and the former Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Basically means that if anyone wants to trade, they have to go through Turkey, which means Turkey will probably make some money off that.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if there's a little sliver of Turkey that's actually in Europe? I didn't know that.
I had no idea either.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, you obviously knew it because you just told me.
Well, I only found out about that because I'm in world issues and I just happen to have to do a Middle East map. And there's a little sliver of Turkey that's in Europe. Anyhow, continuing on.
There we go. Next is Indonesia. Has the 4th largest population of the world. They have a stable political environment, solid growth, and well-diverse economy. He didn't go into explaining exactly what these are, but I'm assuming you could find that out if you looked into it.
I'm assuming well-diverse economy means they have a little bit of their economy in each sector instead of having an economy that's like just agriculture or just production. I think that's what he's saying.
Kind of like the Hunger Games.
Oh yeah. Okay, now I see your point. Like all the districts.
Yeah.
Are different. Oh, okay. Yes, I get it now.
I didn't read that book.
You didn't read it.
I want to though.
And I read all 3 of the books and I didn't pick up on that immediately. Okay.
So, and they also have trade ties that are balanced between Japan, the USA, China, and Singapore, which is better than having all your trades with one country, because if that country goes under, so do you.
Yeah, essentially.
So, now, I'm going to skip the next one. I'm going to save that one for last, I think, because that's what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But next country is Singapore. Their per capita
GDP,
that's what I was going to say, thank you for interrupting me, is among the highest in the world. So this country basically has one of the highest GDP in the world.
I think, isn't it per capita or is it just GDP overall?
I think it's GDP overall. He didn't say, oh yeah, no, it's per capita, sorry, my bad.
I was going to say.
I did say per capita, didn't I?
No, you said just GDP. I was like, wow, Singapore's one of the richest countries in the world? What the what have I missed?
Per capita GDP, pardon me, I was wrong, is among the highest in the world. Their unemployment rate is around 2%.
Which is, just put in perspective, Canada's considered doing well with an unemployment of 7%. Some places in the US have almost 20% unemployment, just to give you an idea of just how low that is.
And Singapore is also the world's 4th leading financial center.
Yeah. What are the other ones there?
I
guess it's New York, London,
and Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yeah. Next one is something you guys might know from a movie that you saw. I didn't personally see it. I don't think Kristian saw it, but
I didn't.
Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Is one of the world's fastest growing economies thanks to exports of oil, metals, and grains. It's basically something everyone needs for everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't rely heavily on Russia or China for support, which is interesting considering it's a small country next to. It's basically next to those big countries.
Yeah.
It used to be part of the Soviet Union, right?
Yeah.
So it used to be part of the Soviet Union, so you think it'd be relying on Russia a lot for support, but it's becoming its own independent part of the world, and that's really good. Because if the big countries start crashing, then it's going to be fine on its own.
Yeah. Can't remember what sport it was, but some internationals, I think it's like running, and then it was women's like 100 meter or something, and the woman from Kazakhstan won. So they just go to do the podium thing, and they play the national anthem. They played the mock national anthem from Borat.
Really?
Actual, yeah. So she's just like looking around like no idea what's going on.
Where was this?
Some Middle Eastern country. It's like one of those really rich Middle Eastern countries.
Okay, I thought you were going to say it'd be like in America or something.
That would be bad.
That would be awkward. Okay, so next is Vietnam. So basically, Vietnam has changed a lot since the war and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, they started focusing on stability rather than growth at any cost. So instead of trying to grow their country through whatever they were doing before.
Instead of growing the economy, even if it means the average person won't be well off, they decided to have a more stable.
So growing slower, but growing with everything.
Yeah.
I also have, Mr. Ian Bremming basically said investors are showing interest in Vietnam's export structure. He didn't go on to explain what that means, but I'm assuming it means that Vietnam must have a pretty good export structure.
I don't know what that means. Interesting. Another random fact I have. I had to go to a meeting at Ottawa U, and it was especially about Asia's futures and the economy. And the guy who was hosting it actually is an American from California, but he lives most of the time in Vietnam. And the reason he does is because he can have huge meals, like a huge breakfast, a huge lunch, a huge dinner, for maybe $10 a day.
Wow.
Like ridiculous. You can live like a king for $10 a day. So I was like, I want to move to Vietnam.
Okay, next one we have is Canada. You want to talk about?
So Canada's basically a lot like Kazakhstan in a sense, because you have a lot of the oil, natural resources, natural gas was one example, copper, that sort of stuff, and uranium, I believe, is also there. And Canada's one of the main exporters of that, and another big thing that's been changing a lot over the last few years is we've been moving more and more away from the U.S. Actually, in Western Canada right now, more of our wood is actually exported to China than it is to the U.S. now, which is a big change from how it was maybe just a decade ago. And because of that, because Canada's diversifying more, we're doing better. And another big thing is we're one of the few countries in the world that's going to really have positive change. Well, global warming is going to be a good thing for us. So while all of you guys are drowning, we'll be living large for all the money we're making off of you. But
Really?
No, but the reason it's going to support us, is going to help us a lot, is because the Northwest Passage is going to start opening up all year round. And when that happens, it'll become one of the most important trade routes in the world, and we're going to be able to pay people to use it.
No, we get paid for them to use it.
Oh yeah, that's right. We don't pay them, because that'd be silly, that'd be stupid. They're going to pay us for using it. Thank you.
Okay.
And then the last one is what our opening is based off. It's hilarious.
So this is actually an entire country that I think is going to work.
It's
an entire continent,
yes.
sorry. Not an entire country, an entire continent. And it's Africa.
Yeah. Ian Bremming points out Africa as a pivot country in the 21st century.
He was saying in 2010, China's trade with Africa has increased by 43% and has placed USA as Africa's largest trade partner. Basically saying that Africa is becoming less and less reliant on the United States.
Yeah.
Meaning it's getting more trade partners. And he also said that Africa is expected to have most multinational and state-owned companies competing for access to their consumers and favorable investment terms. Basically saying countries are going to start competing to work in Africa.
Which is a big change.
Which would mean Africa is going to get a huge surplus, well not surplus, but it's going to get a huge amount of money.
Yeah, out of that. And if they can get leaders who know what to do with the money, that will be great for them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll definitely work out very good for them.
Yeah. What was I going to say about Africa there? Oh yes. In the past, Africa's often relied on the International Monetary Fund to support the nations there. But as this article is explaining, things like the G7, the G20, the IMF, the World Bank, even the UN are sort of becoming irrelevant. And that's also having a huge effect on Africa, as they no longer rely on this constant stream of money from the IMF that also is given to them at what is it? When you give someone money and then they charge you extra for
interest.
The interest. So when the IMF would give Africa money, it has like incredible interest rate on it. But now they're going to be making money off of investors. There's not going to be an interest rate on the money, and that's going to also be a huge plus for Africa. Anyhow, thank you for the interesting article, Ian Bremming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm recording now. Huzzah.
Why?
Because it must be done, Brandon.
Trying to gather up all the freaking darts that you shot at me. Hit me twice in the face, you jackass.
You just had to be shot.
I shot you. I won the first time.
I had to regain my
honor.
honor.
Sure.